Okay. All right. So I'm going to just read our designation for electronic meeting. Chapter 1283 of the Virginia 2020 Acts of Assembly address the ability of soil and water conservation districts to hold electronic meetings without the need for quorum being present in a single location where a state of emergency has been declared pursuant to the Code of Virginia 44-14617. I'm going to make a motion that I move that the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors has determined the nature of the declared COVID-19 virus emergency, making it impractical or unsafe for us to assemble in a single location for the purpose of transacting business statutorily required or necessary for us to continue operations and discharge for our lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
Second.
Okay, Jerry has seconded the motion, so we are officially in an electronic meeting and pulling up the agenda.
Do we want to have just a quick vote on that?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. We'll do a vote and take a, right now I see that we have Jerry, John, and Monica present. So we'll do a roll call. Chairman Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Peters?
Aye.
Okay. Monica? Owner?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And I don't see Chris, so we got all say yay, and there are no nays. So thank you, Laura. Keeping me honest. Okay, so with the agenda, we have a review of the minutes of August 18th and September 15th meetings, because we have those 2 minutes. Were there any questions on the minutes of the August meeting or the September meeting? No? Okay, I'll move to approve those minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Minutes.
Okay. So we'll take a vote on the approval of those minutes. John?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye. Sorry, my computer's going slow today.
That's okay. My brain's going slow. So we have approval of both the minutes from August and September with a 4-0 and 0 nays. So okay. Next up on the agenda is the FY21 CAP watershed applications with Dan presenting. Dan, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Can everybody hear me? All
Yep.
right. Let me see if I can share my screen then and bring up the PowerPoint. And can everybody, oops, I'm on the wrong screen. Everybody see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, I see some nods and yeses. So we only have one new application today that is a CAP application coming from the Springfield Station Homeowners Association. It's a pretty big project and it's an interesting one. They're located in Springfield and in the Springfield Supervisor District, and they're within the Poet Creek watershed, and the type of project they are presenting is an impervious surface removal of 4,386 square feet, which we haven't done a lot of impervious surface removals. I think this one will be about the largest. These reimbursement numbers need a little bit of revising. I've sent an email off to the engineer that the community has hired to get the exact numbers. This is part of a larger project where they're going to be resurfacing some existing tennis courts as well too. So they submitted the budget for the larger project. The full project budget is $60,000, a little over $60,000. From what I could tell, the cost for the impervious surface removal would be $21,355. and they are requesting $10,000 in cost share reimbursement. They can be cost shared at $2.50 per square foot. So the cost share is correct. They're asking for $10,000. I have to check to make sure that reimbursement number, or excuse me, the total project number is correct. They are located again in the Springfield Supervisor District. They're a homeowners association representing 183 residences, so a fairly large one. And this map is showing where they're located in the general vicinity of their location. They're off, well, the project area, the specific area of common land that they own, where they'll be doing this project, is off Arley Drive in Springfield. And that's a little bit south of both Huntsman Boulevard and Seidenstricker Road. The property they're looking at is, again, part of their common land. It's kind of a park-like setting with some walking trails, and the specific parcel is 1.8 acres in size. What they are proposing to do is remove this basketball court. So again, it's about a 4,300 square foot basketball court. I think it's 50 by 86 feet in size. They are going to completely take it out and replace it, turn it into a turf field for use by the community. The first picture that you see here on the left is taken from their walking trail. So the asphalt that you see down at the bottom of the photo right here is the walking trail. So basically they're going to just be removing the asphalt from the edge of the basketball court all the way up to the chain link fence, which is where the tennis courts start, and the tennis courts are going to remain, and they're going to be resurfacing those. So it's just the basketball court shown here that's going to be removed. As you can see, it's not in very good shape, but it is a significant removal of impervious surface, and I think it's quite a worthwhile project. Here's sort of a bird's eye view of the project. So this is their common land. You can see the houses on either side. The area shown kind of the cross-hatched is the basketball court, and they're going to be converting it into, again, a turf field. So they will be removing the asphalt, spreading down topsoil, grading it and mixing it in, and then planting sod on top of that. With impervious surface removal, they don't have to convert it into native plantings like you would with conservation landscaping. They just have to take something that's impervious and convert it over to something pervious. So they wanted to keep it as an open field for recreational use by the community. This is a pretty big project, and they've already made a lot of headway on it because of the size of the project and the fact that it's all within a resource protection area. They did have to get a rough grading plan and also an RPA exemption. They hired DeMar Engineering to do that for them, and both their rough grading plan and their RPA exemption have been granted by the county. So they've already done all the design work and the engineering work necessary. Now they're just moving into the actual construction phase. So I think this is a project that, if we approve it, will probably be put in pretty quickly. And again, here's just a little wrap-up. It's the Springfield Station HOA within the Springfield Supervisor District. It's all draining down to Pohick Creek, and it's a 4,386 square foot removal of impervious surfaces. In terms of the cost share, I may throw it over to Laura to give you a little bit more detail. Right now, we have just shy of $6,000 left in our CAP account. We approved a lot of practices in September, and as you probably heard earlier, we did not get any more CAP EIP funding for this fiscal year because of the COVID-19 budget cuts. So what we were doing was spending down the leftover money that we had from previous fiscal years. And right now we have a little shy of $6,000, so we don't have all the money in the budget to give them the $10,000 reimbursement they're entitled to. We've made that clear to the community, but there are a couple potential funding sources that we could tap that Laura's been exploring to get that approximately $4,000 extra that the community would be eligible to receive. And Laura, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but would you be able to give a little bit of detail about that? If you're ready for it. I don't know if it's quite in the stage where we should be presenting it yet, because it's a little bit speculative now.
Well, it's still a little early, but we have reached out to Charles, and appreciate Charles' response and thinking through some potential options for supporting a project like this. But we've also had some conversations with Land Development Services, and they have some funds that are potentially available for a project such as this to just cover the difference in the cost and in regards to what we have remaining in the cap. So really what we're asking today is to, we wanted to do the technical review of the project and see what the TRC, if there were any concerns related to moving forward with the project. And we're still going to be working with our partners to see if there's some opportunity for covering the remaining just roughly over $4,000 to complete this project. So I hopefully will have a little bit more information by the board meeting and be able to feel a little bit more confident being able to move forward with this project and approving it. So if we don't have that quite figured out yet, there's a couple of different options that our board can take. One is to approve it with the remaining cost share that we have at this time. And then the other one is to approve it pending the outcome of some of our conversations with our partners. So that's kind of where we're at right now, but we'll have a little bit more information by the board meeting timeframe.
Dan or Laura, this is John. A question.
Mm-hmm.
If that other money cannot be found, are they still going to pursue this with what money we still have and can provide them?
I've been in contact with their engineer and their HOA president just to let them know what the situation was. And what I told them is basically that we were looking for more sources of money and we're hoping that we would find it, but it wasn't a guarantee. And if not, if we don't find those extra sources of money, they can either proceed with the cost share that we do have, meaning they wouldn't receive the full $10,000 to which they're entitled, but they would receive closer to the $6,000 we have left in our accounts. Or they could take the risk and submit their application through the VCAP process, which they certainly can do. Of course, the issue with VCAP is it's also out of money this year, so they'd be basically putting themselves on the wait list. And I think a possible fourth option would be, and Laura, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but perhaps we could give them the money we have remaining and they could apply to VCAP for the close to $4,000 to which they would be entitled to bring themselves up to the $10,000 cap. I think the issue with VCAP is, again, the money is gone there as well, too, and it sounds like the community is raring to go in terms of putting this project into the ground. So I'm not sure they would necessarily want to wait to hear back from VCAP about whether the funding becomes available or not. They may just elect to go ahead. But those are the options we've given them: partial funding, full funding, or potential VCAP funding.
Dan, do you understand? I'm just curious about the timing, because for the stormwater funds to kick in, we probably would just need to verify, like, for instance, it has to be the pro rata funds would be for stormwater practice. So we'd probably have to see the soil profiling rebuilding detail. They're using the clearinghouse specification for the soil profile rebuilding, because at that point, then it essentially becomes a BMP, which also will benefit them because of the turf survival. I know you and John Palmer worked a lot on that when he was here about that importance of building that sub turf so that the actual root systems of that turf would be much healthier, deeper, absorb water that came into it, and then of course require lower maintenance over time.
Yeah. We haven't gotten those full details yet. I've asked, in the email I sent them earlier today, I've asked them to send either a description or a simple cross-section of what the final grading will look like on the turf field. I doubt that they're following the soil profile rebuilding standard right now. I think it's more that they're going to be spreading out some topsoil and maybe mixing it in. But I know they will be putting in topsoil. It's not just removal of the asphalt and then sodding on top of whatever's below. They're going to be doing some grading and some topsoil replacement. But I don't know if it's going to be to the depth and application method that the urban soil profile rebuilding requires. So I'll wait to hear back from them. And of course, depending on how we proceed or how the community wants to proceed with the funding, if soil profile rebuilding is necessary for the pro rata shares, we'll certainly share that with them. that they would have to change their plans slightly in order to qualify for that extra $4,000.
Great, thank you.
So do we want to wait to get a little more information, or do we want to approve with and we can kind of see where we are at the board meeting for the official approval?
Yeah, I guess at this point, I'm curious to know if anybody has any questions related to any of the technical aspects of the project. And then what I would recommend is if we feel comfortable that the TRC would, once we are comfortable that the TRC would make the recommendation for approval of this project, and staff will continue to explore the options for full funding.
Are there any questions on the?
Do we know if there's any? Yeah, do we know if there's any drainage issues from?
I'm sorry, Monica, you cut out there at the very end.
I think she was asking if we knew if there were any drainage issues.
Yeah, if there's any drainage issues that we may consider, if there's a portion of the green recreational space, if there's opportunity to do any little plantings to capture runoff, or if there is any, I don't know.
The community said they did want to keep it open as kind of a recreational area, an open recreational area for dogs and kids and such. And while this specific parcel is 1.8 acres, it connects to two other parcels of community-owned land, which are almost entirely forested. So even though they're converting this area into turf, most of this sort of contiguous common area for the community is basically forested land.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Sure. And I should note, too, during this project, they're actually not taking out any trees that aren't dead. They have 5 trees removed. They're all ashes and they're all dead. So it won't affect any of the existing canopy, any of the existing living canopy, I should say.
As far as I'm concerned, Adria, if it meets the program requirements, I think we ought, technically, I think we ought to just approve it today with the funds we have.
Okay, is that a motion?
John?
That's a motion.
I'd second.
Are you seconding that motion, Jerry?
I will make that a motion, yes.
Okay.
We don't usually, so we're not approving anything today. We as the committee just are making the recommendation at the board meeting. And we may have a little bit more information by then in regards to the available funding, but it sounds like from what I'm hearing that there is some consensus on recommending moving forward with this project and recommending that the board approve it next Tuesday.
Change my second to a consensus second.
All right. So we've agreed that this we can move on for approval at the board meeting. So let's thank you, Dan, for that, and we'll look for more information at the board meeting, and I appreciate that. Next up.
And do we have anything for reimbursement or any payments, any completed projects?
No, I don't believe we have any this month.
All right.
This may be a real short meeting.
Wow. I am going to take advantage of this. What else do we have on the agenda? Laura, besides that, the next step would have been the project reimbursements. So
That's really it. I can give a brief update, a quick VCAP update, and certainly lean on Maria and Dan for any additional insights that they might like to provide. But just wanted to give folks a quick update is that we have our new Virginia, our Conservation Assistance Program Coordinator is going to be joining us on November 2nd. Judy Frazier, who is a longtime resident of the city of Fairfax, is going to be joining us in that position. She brings with her many years of experience working in project management. Her background is actually in architecture. However, she's worked more closely as a VCAP applicant as well. So we'll be bringing a really unique perspective to the table, and has worked as a contractor for the last several years with cutting edge landscaping companies. So
Laura,
yes,
did I hear we made a new hire?
we made a new hire. Yes, she starts on November 2nd. So yeah, Judy Frazier. So we're very excited to bring her on board, and we, in the meantime, we have all been working very hard to get out and do the site visits for the FY21 VCAP applicants as well. So, so yeah, so good news all around.
So this is the position that Christina at one time held, and now we are re-advertising for another one, or how are we doing that for the intern position?
No, so we've got, so this is Christina's vacancy. This is
Okay.
that Judy is going to be fulfilling. And so we've re-advertised the urban conservation engineer position. We had received one application at that time of the initial opening. And so with the competitive nature of our application and hiring process, we re-advertised, and so that has been beneficial. So we will be moving forward with some of those interviews in the coming weeks as well. So we're very much looking forward to being fully staffed here in a few months, a few weeks, I should say.
Okay.
Laura, I can share a little bit about how the current CAP applications are going if you want. So we got I think it was about 70 total site visit request applications for FY 2021 VCAP program. And staff, which is basically me, Laura, Willie, and Maria, are currently going through and honoring the top 50 site visits. I think Maria and Willie are all done with theirs. I know I've got a few left to do. I think Laura has a few left to do as well, too. So we've been making pretty good progress on visiting those 50 sites, either recommending they proceed with a full application or not, and kind of giving them some basic guidance along the way about what projects we think will work, what projects we think will not work, and doing some of the basic design recommendations for them. So I imagine we'll soon be seeing a pretty good influx of new VCAP applications for you all to review. This year we're doing it slightly different than last year, whereas last year we took all the applications, kind of polished them all up, and then presented them to you as the technical review committee starting in January. So you saw a huge influx in January, February, and then a slightly smaller amount in March and April. We're now accepting them on a rolling basis, so you might start seeing some applications come in for the November, or if we have at a December meeting as well too, which will hopefully make things a little bit less hectic in the early part of 2021, now that we can accept those applications on a longer open window. But we will see. So hopefully people will start getting those full applications in. There might be a little bit of suppression of applications this year because we have told everybody that the VCAP program is out of money right now. So they're basically applying to be put onto the wait list. But hopefully if they get themselves on the wait list and the state is able to find some money, we can get some of those applications funded sooner rather than later. The new standard for the state program is that if an application sits on the wait list up to the point that the fiscal year turns over, so basically if it's still on the wait list at July 1st of next year, they will clear out the wait list and it'll have to reapply again. By reapply, I think for us it'll simply mean we just take the existing application and resubmit it. Perhaps they'll need a new contractor bid, but otherwise we won't be looking to really make changes to the application, but we will resubmit it again in the coming fiscal year if that applicant is still interested in the program. So bottom line is keep your ears open, and hopefully we'll have some applications for you to review starting as early as next month.
I'd just also like to add, this is Willie, by the way, that my experience with my 15 or 16 sites that I've visited, in as much as upfront we told them the funds are dried up, we're looking to see if we can get some grants, and if not, you'll be put in the waiting list for next fiscal year. That has not in any way caused them to lose energy or enthusiasm in the program. They say, yes, yes, please, let's move forward, and hopefully we see what happens. So there's a lot of energy out there participating in this VCAP program.
The community.
I'm trying to take my microphone off so that you don't hear any extraneous noise like dogs barking and stuff. I'm sorry. And then I'm like, so, I just wanted to share with you that this month, October, is Urban Agriculture Month. And we shared that a little bit last board meeting. Tomorrow is a town hall meeting on urban agriculture. And our representing Fairfax is Supervisor Dalia Palchek, and Supervisor Palchek is a new supervisor this year, and she and her staff and I have been talking a lot about urban agriculture and what agriculture is and what we do in Fairfax County. And I think that I will send the link for you all to register. There is a lot of other activities going on all month long in the next 2 weeks. Today, after this meeting around lunchtime, is information on food recovery and food waste. And I think somebody from Compost Crew is on the panel and a few others. So it might be a great opportunity if you have some time during lunchtime to listen in. And then the town hall meeting coming up tomorrow evening around 7 o'clock. And so there'll also be representatives from Arlington, Fairfax City, Falls Church City, and I think Alexandria, just on how do we improve, and Willie was involved in this discussion, improve our zoning opportunities for growing on smaller plots. And a lot of it goes back to 20 acres constitutes the ag and forest tax district areas versus, smaller intensive farming or a small CSA that might be 5 to 10 acres is very difficult. So and that is a lot of the conversation that makes it difficult to become a farmer and the land, like we were talking before this meeting, buying 50 acres here versus other places in the state. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I've been involved in the planning and especially some of the special sessions and special events. And we had a garden tour last weekend, actually, at Bow White Gardens, which is a very diverse garden area over at Pine Ridge Park, and it was a beautiful day, and we were able to keep our physical distancing in check and wear our masks, and we had small groups of about 2 to 4 people going around with a tour guide, and it worked out quite well. So it gave me some hope for some outdoor activities and different events that we usually do, and it felt really good to get out and see people. So, and I hope that you all are doing the same.
Adrian, let me ask you a question. I think urban agriculture is something that this district really ought to be interested in. I'm all for it. Is there a website where we can keep up with what's going on? I know there's a lot of activity right now. Where do we go?
So right now, I can send you the Urban Agriculture Month information, but a lot of the stuff that we're doing, Willie and I are involved with is the Urban Agriculture Work Group from the Fairfax Food Council. And I can send that website as well. There's a lot of great resources, and Willie and I have contributed to the website where everything is kind of contained, and there's links to soil and water and links to extension and stuff from there. And last summer, our intern made some videos on how to start a garden or community garden, how to do a soil test, and those are on there. So there's a lot of great resources.
Adrian, there's also some NACD resources. There's the Urban RPG that I belong to. Laura, do you get all those announcements from them?
And
maybe I should send them to you. I thought you were getting them.
Oh, I get them.
Okay.
Yes, and we've been engaged in the urban agriculture world for quite some time and recognizing sort of where we fit. So as Adrian mentioned a little bit ago, that Willie was very much involved in the conversations with zoning as they were developing some of the ordinances and things like that as it relates to urban agriculture. And we were capitalizing a lot on some of the available resources that we have, including our soil and water quality conservation plans. So you might recall, actually, I think it was in August, and we revisited it just slightly in September. The Good News Kitchen and the garden that was talked about being established in the Burke area. And that is an example of how we're utilizing our resources, the soil and water quality conservation plans, our soils resources, and also being able to share the network of different things that are going on as it relates to some of the establishment of these community gardens. We also worked together with the Fairfax Food Council's Urban Agriculture Work Group a couple of years ago to establish a grant proposal for sitting and looking at our existing community gardens and kind of taking a snapshot in time, going out and assessing what are the needs. Do they have the resources available to them? Do they have accessible water sources? Are they composting? Do they have a succession plans and, things like that? That unfortunately was not awarded funding, but we're keeping that in our back pocket. And I know that it did help to spur some conversations among the urban work group as well in terms of thinking about mapping out where a lot of these facilities are too. So it's an ever increasing interest, I think. And I think one of the interesting conversations that's taking place is the community gardens from the individual household perspective and taking that to a different production level. And I think the Urban Ag Work Group is a fantastic group of enthusiastic leaders in Fairfax County having these conversations. And I'm proud that with the Urban Agriculture Month that's sort of shared regionally, that there's a whole lot of interest that is really bubbling up, and that we're all working together on it. So yeah, I think that this is something we've had in our strategic plan for quite some time. And with Willie's presence on a lot of those different groups, we've been able to really have a good seat at the table.
Good.
Adria or Laura, when you were talking about the zoning, Adria brought up the ag and forestal districts. I just want to be sure you're aware that there is state code which would allow for state land use taxation without an ag and forestal district, and that can go down to as little as 5 acres a parcel. They have that in Loudoun County. And we've written a lot of forest management plans for people who have just 5 acres and are trying to get taxed as forest land rather than developed land. And Lori, you just mentioned something about estate planning. DOF and Extension have put together and have been hosting the Generation Next It's focused mostly on forest land, but it would apply also to agricultural land. And that has been a very successful program that we've been running now for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years.
That's great, Jim. I think that's something, not just even here in Fairfax, but certainly Commonwealth-wide. There's going to be a lot of interest in thinking about that succession or that estate planning into the future, particularly during times like this.
Yeah, I know that was one of the issues with Whitehall Farm.
If I might, Adrian, I want to bring up something that is near and dear to my heart. The both the Department of Forestry and Virginia Cooperative Extension have created this new book, guidance to foresters and landscape professionals on how to help people who have 1 to 10 acres of forest and turf they'd like to convert to forest.
Mm-hmm.
The Trees Virginia is sponsoring 4 Thursday evening sessions starting this Thursday. And for $35, you can sign up for that webinar. Admission is not limited. You get this great new book, which is a follow-up to the Woods in Your Backyard book that's been out for several years. Anybody who's interested in forests and real natural landscapes, $35 with a book is a great investment. Treesvirginia.org, Jim, is that the right website?
Yeah, it's Trees Virginia. It's the Urban Forest Council.
Right.
I would say, though, that program is really aimed more at green professionals.
Right.
So this is about how arborists and landscape architects and landscape companies can start providing services for these small lot landowners. It's part of our Urban Wood project.
And I've flipped through. I haven't read it in depth yet, but this is excellent. In addition to the Woods in Your Backyard, which is the homeowner's version of this, this got a lot more technical details that I think would be useful directly to the homeowner too. So, and I don't know. This is something to think about. Whether coming up with a list of service providers who offer services that fit into this set of things, and making that available to the public. I don't know whether we of listing firms that meet some criteria or whatnot, but as a landowner who has tried to find somebody that I can hire to deal with my Oriental bittersweet instead of me doing it. The providers they certainly don't advertise invasive species management at this small scale. And this initiative by VCE and Department of Forestry and other states, Maryland and Pennsylvania, are also cooperating in this to get those providers to advertise those services and provide them professionally. I think is a great step forward, and I'd like to see us, to the extent that we can, as a soil and water conservation district, promote that.
So, Jerry, you're talking about the Urban Wood Business Directory, which already exists under the VirginiaUrbanWood.org website.
Do they deal with small lots though, Jim?
Yes, it's specifically aimed at small lots, and part of the idea behind this workshop is to increase the population of that directory.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all.
That I see the Virginia Urban Wood Business Directory. I have the luxury of being right in front of my computer and taking notes. But that is certainly something that we can promote and encourage folks to take a look at. I haven't had a chance to really look at this in too much detail yet, but I mean, they do have little write-ups for each one of the businesses. It looks like they have the businesses have the option of being able to put their information in specifically and showcase and share the kinds of resources that they have. And there's some really interesting icons as well that look like they provide some support. everything from James Jones Instruments, which makes instruments out of some of the urban wood. So,
Jim, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I have looked at that resource, the database, and the providers aren't people who you'd call. They're not your local lawn service. They're not the people who are already out here in the community doing things in Fairfax County. They're people from Roanoke and the Eastern Shore and whatnot who do these things, but a homeowner in Fairfax County with 1 to 10 acres of land, they're not going to find that website, first of all, and the providers I don't think are local. So I think
there are some local providers.
There
It
are.
is a statewide program. There's a guy who lives in Fairfax County who's doing forestry mulching now. He and I had a long discussion about the zoning issues associated with doing forestry mulching, because it doesn't really come under silviculture. So, and we've had long discussions about the land disturbing activities issues.
Adria, this is a question for you, and I'm thinking specifically about the Northern Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association. Is this something that you think would be that members of that group might be interested in?
This training? Some of them, yes. Some of them do straight, lawn maintenance contracts. Exactly where Jerry's talking about is you can't sometimes, a one-off come and help me remove all these invasives may not be the first thing on their list. What I would recommend something where Jerry, I've seen some things where some companies are saying, hey, I'll come to your property for 4 hours, pay me $450, $500 for 4 hours, and you give us a list of things that you want us to do. Usually that's during the off season when they're slow, and they have time to come in and do that sort of thing. Clean up brush, clean up this. It's not always the best time to remove invasives because during the winter time you may not see everything, but that's maybe when you're going to see the invasives because that's the only thing that's green in the winter months.
And that's what you when the providers, when these services are looking for things to do, right?
Yeah, that's
excellent. That's better than anything I read in here. Maybe just contacting these people and say, can you provide somebody? We'll see how far you get in 4 hours with a team of 4 people and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Sometimes that's where so I've seen offers like that for different larger companies that want to keep their crew busy during the winter months and don't want to kind of lay them off, because if they say, okay, we're going to give everybody, even if they say their crew, we're going to give you 2 weeks off paid, that crew, that some of those guys might find another job in 2 weeks that they get paid another $1 an hour or 50 cents an hour, and they're gone for that small amount of money. So they want to keep their guys working and paid during the off season. And that's maybe where for you or for someone who has a larger lot, that is the advice that I will give.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not in here, are we?
What's that?
I think we felt we kind of have a gap here that it really isn't forestry. It's like woodland gardening.
Right. Land management. Yeah. Property management.
So when you look at the websites of these companies, they don't talk about anything that fits here. So.
Right.
Yeah. Would you like to share what you just put in the chat? Because I think you hit the mark there.
Yeah, it might be something that Jim could help explain a little bit more about. It's a resource from the Blue Ridge Prism. I think they have a local area one that maybe Jim is set in on. I'm not quite sure how active it is in the local area, but this was a link to a contractor list, and it's an invasive species kind of focused.
Blue Ridge Prism is not at all active in Fairfax County. I think the closest they come is west of the Stockton Mountain in Loudon. They really cover the Blue Ridge, the county on both the east and west sides of the Shenandoah National Park. But they got a couple of big grants. They even got NRCS to set aside some of their EQIP funding for invasive removal that went pretty much completely to the Blue Ridge Prism area. So, and I haven't looked at this list, but I suspect this may be where we got our list.
I guess I was talking, there is sort of a counterpart in kind of the PRISM initiative sort of in the local Northern Virginia area that I thought there was some traction behind. I'm not sure how far they got off the ground, but that's kind of what I was talking about.
The operational word there is was. That was Sarah Archer was kind of driving that, and Sarah has left Arlington County. So, as far as I know, that process is moribund. The funding ran out, and they never got any new funding.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, Laura, I think thank you, Jim, and thank you, Maria.
One thing I would point out on this list from Blue Ridge Prism is that Ron Rubin sold his company Thrive to Save a Tree. So that would be a local contractor that does do invasive species management. They bought Thrive specifically for that invasive species expertise.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I think that was a really good conversation, and certainly there's some things that I think from a regional perspective, there's some opportunities there, and maybe worthwhile having some conversations even with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission on a more local prism. I think it oftentimes does come down to having the available funding and resources to be able to move forward on something like that. But certainly there's a number of strong experts in the area where bringing them together to prepare some shared resources would be fantastic.
Okay. Anything else to bring up before the technical review committee? Okay. Then I guess that means we can move for adjournment. I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. We got 2 seconds, so that's great. John, are you still on? I guess he left us. So then I think we're a unanimous vote for adjournment. 3-0, and we'll see you at the board meeting next week on the 27th. Anything further, Laura?
No.
Laura, do you have a few minutes to hang out and talk a little bit about that potential for pro rata share?
Sure, Charles.
All right.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.